What's going on YouTube? It's your boy JV. We're back again with another how-to guide. This is going to be an ultimate beginner's guide going over Magneto, one of the best tanks in the game right now. I'm pretty sure him and Strange are probably the top two tanks you'll normally see in ranked, with a mixture of some other guys depending on what the playability is. Probably put Thor up there as well, but in terms of like absorbing damage and holding areas and not being like the most aggressive tank, that tank that's just there with the team and not more so in the dive category, Magneto is definitely up there. But before we get into it, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, especially if you're enjoying the content. Make sure you like the video and then leave a comment down below if there's anything in particular in the guide that I missed and anything else you guys want to see in the future. So let's get right into it. So for Magneto, his kit is very simple, very easy to use, and you'll probably see him in all rank levels of play. So if we start off with Magneto's basic attack, it'd be my left click, and it's just sending propulsions at people, which is pretty cool. Now, as you see in the middle here underneath my crosshairs, there's these three arrows, which right now they're charged up. And basically when I right click, I'll hit the enemy, I'll do a decent amount, not a decent amount, a lot more damage than the normal click, and I'll push them back. So this is what that looks like. But you see the bars go down and now they're recharging, which is great. And the way that they recharge is just over time. But another way to make them fill up would be using some of his other abilities as well, which we'll get into in just a sec. So Magneto's left shift, when I do this, is a shield. Now this shield does have a bar that's on the right hand side, which is basically it's not about how much damage he's taken, like when Strange's shield, or let's say Captain America, there's a little meter somewhere where it's like, oh, it can only take a certain amount of damage. For Magneto's shield, it's more so a certain amount of time. So I tab up, I put it, and you'll see that bar, and then the bar goes down. Now what's pretty cool is that you can kind of like sit there, and if you combine that with his other shield ability, so like if I press F, you'll see Magneto puts a bubble around him. So this bubble, just like that shield, absorbs damage and allows him to recharge these attacks that he shoots out. So whether it's from the shield, you'll see, let's see, so like we gotta wait for that to come up. As I'm getting hit in the bubble, it's charging up more. And then with the shield, it would be charging it up more, allowing you to get these attacks in a little more often. You can use that right click ability to stop the dive. So, if you have an Iron Fist that's pushing in on your guys in the back, or let's say a Venom is diving down on you, you can block, right click him, and then get those important strikes in. Now, what's really cool, if we talk about Magneto's ult, is so he hops in the air, and you'll notice that when the enemies are attacking, you'll see all their attacks get absorbed in the ult, and that pretty much becomes a part of it. And this little meter, if you toss it right before it ends, boom, you're doing massive amount of damage. But if you didn't, so like let me show you what happens if you hold it for too long. So I go in the air, I'm holding it, it just kind of like just tosses it, which is not a problem. But when you hold it for way too long, there's a chance of, like, let's say a character, because it has a certain amount of damage it can take in. So let's say if Punisher ults while this is up, he can actually make it overheat and just like explode on you, which is rough. So you definitely don't want to. You don't want to have to deal with that. I mean, I don't really see too many people like falling into that, but just know it can occur. You can die while going to do your ult, so just make sure that when you do it, you're in a proper position, you have a good amount of health, because there's only so many shots that will get absorbed up into it. There's a certain amount that will still hit you and allow you to come down. Now, the way that you combine some of his movesets, so if we dive into them more, so like the bubble I showed you before, which allows you to shield yourself, you can also shield your allies. So like this is good for, like, let's say if they're hopping at the, see how I got an assist because I had him bubbled like that. Let's say the site is in here and Spider-Man is about to swing in. I can throw the bubble on him before he goes in, and when he starts to do his attacks, he's going to get his first attacks in without having to worry about incoming damage for a couple of seconds there, which, as you guys all know, a couple of seconds of being able to hit people without having to take any damage puts you ahead in most cases. Now, you definitely, of course, in between, like, how, depending on your playstyle and like what you're doing, you know, you put the bubble around yourself in between, combine that with your shield, and that's a good amount of time of just absorbing attacks, especially when you got guys like Punisher ulting, or, you know, anything that's going on that's like impacting towards you. What I love about his shield and the bubble is like the shield specifically, those things are going to save you from things like Iron Man's ult and like Punisher's ult until, you know, it goes away. So use it sparingly, back and forth, hold positions. I really love how, like, you can, let's say if you're holding a site or you're pushing from a corner, you can play from the corner, allowing your team to push up without having to worry about how much incoming damage is there. And then once it goes down, you can get into the fight and play the distance, which is really cool. So just so you know, so for the rings that come up, you can right click without getting all 3 of the rings filled up, these 3 arrows, but you're not going to do the maximum amount of damage that's possible. So before you right click, try to just make sure that it's charged up fully before you do it, because if not, it's going to do bare. So like, look, if I just do 1 arrow and I toss it, it's really not doing that much. But I mean, if it can help you finish off somebody that's already been damaged, because you can, you know, right click and then quickly left click, and you could still do a nice little combo. But just be aware, if you're like, oh, like it didn't do enough damage, like my right click's never doing much for me, it's because you aren't timing it correctly and making sure that it's fully charged up. So for Magneto's team up ability with Scarlet Witch, Wanda, if you watch the show, the movies, whatever you did, your extra ability that you gain is that when you go to do a melee attack, you actually can do long distance strikes. So if I press, I'm pretty sure I press my C button and then I press melee, I'm sending dashes out from a distance, which is kind of crazy to be able to do, because now I've become a poke tank, which is pretty sick. So not only, I mean, before, I mean, you already were, but the fact now that I can do more than just these attacks, like those are pretty cool combos. As you can see though, it does have a nice cooldown on there. And in higher rank gameplay, not everybody is going Scarlet Witch, just because I think a lot of people stop playing her after like gold or so. I think a lot of teams kind of destroy Scarlet Witch. She needs a little bit of buffs from what people are saying. I think she's a good character. So I guess it just depends. If you can get somebody on your team to play Scarlet Witch, you're going to have a great extra ability to utilize. Because, like, this is sick. Right? I do this. Boom. Like, that's pretty insane. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything to do with Magneto. In terms of playstyle, I mean, realistically, what we're talking about is you're coming in, you're holding points on corners, hopefully using your shield. It charges down. You kind of want to not be as selfish with your shield. You kind of want to be able to give your shield to your allies so that they can really get into the fight, and then you're just behind them, getting those attacks and helping peel off, and then using your ult in the best ways possible without being any issue, charging it up, tossing, and then remember, always charging up the bars in the middle and then flinging them at people. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, hopefully this helps you. Magneto is an amazing tank character. You can easily carry teams. I personally like using Doctor Strange, but like Magneto's always been like one of my favorite villain characters in Marvel. So I prefer using him over Doctor Strange just because of that. But he's definitely up there, and I'm sure, like, if you're struggling playing the tank role and you want somebody that's easy to use, there's not really much to him, and you could put out a lot of damage and carry your teams, I would start using them ASAP. But I appreciate you guys if you made this far into the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel, leave a like, and comment down below if there's anything I missed, or if there's a particular guide you'd like to see in the future. Catch you in the next one. GG's, peace.
Yeah.